Chapter 5. Courage. Stoic courage is the ability to endure fortune with wisdom. It is being able to practice philosophy in the hardest moments. It is understanding that forsaking virtue and tranquility is worse than any external consequence could be, for doing what is right and saying what is true. Ultimately, for most of us, it will mean putting the philosophy to use on our deathbeds and in our very last hour. Seneca answers the question of courage in letter 85 of Letters from a Stoic. I think it speaks well of Stoicism that it worked in a time where the things that kept you up at night were literally slavery and torture.
It is the doctrine of you Stoics, then, they reply, that a brave man will expose himself to dangers. By no means, he will merely not fear them, though he will avoid them. It is proper for him to be careful, but not to be fearful. What then? Is he not to fear death, imprisonment, burning, and all the other missiles of fortune? Not at all, for he knows that they are not evils, but only seem to be. He reckons all these things as the bugbears of man's existence. Paint him a picture of slavery, lashes, chains, want, mutilation by disease or by torture, or anything else you may care to mention. He will count all such things as terrors caused by the derangement of the mind. These things are only to be feared by those who are fearful.
Bugbears, boogeymen. If we live in fear of the natural pain and suffering of life, we allow ourselves to be frightened like little children of the monsters under our bed. Nothing that will happen to us has not happened already to countless numbers of other people, including many on this very day. Some outcomes may be dispreferred, but they are outside of our control and not worth compromising our tranquility over. In fact, these challenging moments can be seen as valuable opportunities to exhibit virtue. Demonstrating steadfastness and practicing philosophy amidst adversity is a true testament to one's devotion and strength of character. Seneca continues,
What then, you ask, is an evil? It is the yielding to those things which are called evils. It is the surrendering of one's liberty into their control, when really we ought to suffer all things in order to preserve this liberty. Liberty is lost unless we despise those things which put the yoke upon our necks. If men knew what bravery was, they would have no doubts as to what a brave man's conduct should be. For bravery is not thoughtless rashness or love of danger, or the courting of fear-inspiring objects. It is the knowledge which enables us to distinguish between that which is evil and that which is not. Bravery takes the greatest care of itself and likewise endures with the greatest patience all things which have a false appearance of being evils. What then, is the query? If the sword is brandished over your brave man's neck, if he is pierced in this place and in that continually, if he sees his entrails in his lap, if he is tortured again after being kept waiting in order that he may thus feel the torture more keenly, and if the blood flows afresh out of bowels where it has but lately ceased to flow, has he no fear? Shall you say that he has felt no pain either? Yes, he has felt pain, for no human virtue can rid itself of feelings. But he has no fear. Unconquered, he looks down from a lofty height upon his sufferings. Do you ask me what spirit animates him in these circumstances? It is the spirit of one who is comforting a sick friend.
The states of life commonly labelled as evil, greed, violence, deception, poverty, sickness, pain, are in fact natural aspects of existence and thus cannot be evil. The true evil lies in convincing ourselves that these states are malevolent, thereby amplifying our own suffering. We have the power to withstand these challenges imposed by fortune, and in doing so, we not only exhibit moral beauty, but also minimize our own suffering. Mislabeling what is merely undesirable as evil and becoming identified with our suffering only serves to intensify it. Ultimately, our response to circumstances not the circumstances themselves, determines whether we ascend to lofty heights or fall to chaos. A brave person understands that moral dilemmas always come with a cost, whether through action or inaction. While the average person may perceive only the risks of courageous action, such as physical harm, financial loss, or damage to reputation, the Stoic recognizes that the greater peril lies in choosing vice over virtue, in failing to do the good that is within their power. This failure obstructs the path to the only true good, a sound mind. Thus, encountering danger is not an evil. Rather, the evil lies in shirking the responsibility to face that danger head-on. Freedom. Real freedom is freedom from fortune. It is being free from the fear of death and the fear of poverty. It is knowing that you can endure whatever life throws at you. It requires a diligent and courageous struggle to achieve, but it is a priceless good.
Suppose we do what Hannibal did, check the course of events, give up the war, and give over our bodies to be coddled. Everyone would rightly blame us for our untimely sloth, a thing fraught with peril even for the victor, to say nothing of one who is only on the way to victory. And we have even less right to do this than those followers of the Carthaginian flag, for our danger is greater than theirs if we slacken, and our toil is greater than theirs, even if we press ahead. Fortune is fighting against me, and I shall not carry out her commands. I refuse to submit to the yoke. Nay, rather, I shake off the yoke that is upon me, an act which demands even greater courage. The soul is not to be pampered. Surrendering to pleasure means also surrendering to pain, surrendering to toil, surrendering to poverty. Both ambition and anger will wish to have the same rights over me as pleasure, and I shall be torn asunder, or rather pulled to pieces, amid all these conflicting passions. I have set freedom before my eyes, and I am striving for that reward. And what is freedom, you ask? It means not being a slave to any circumstance, to any constraint, to any chance. It means compelling fortune to enter the lists on equal terms, and on the day when I know that I have the upper hand, her power will be naught. When I have death in my own control, shall I take orders from her?
True freedom lies in an unwavering equanimity towards fortune's gifts and trials. It is the steadfast conviction that your path will remain unaltered, regardless of life's fluctuations, and the ability to welcome challenges as proof of your imperviousness. This freedom is knowing that whatever happens, things really will be fine. A person who embodies this freedom is not dependent on their job, family, health, or country for happiness. While they may prefer these blessings, they recognize that such externalities are beyond their control and do not form the foundation of their contentment. Instead, their happiness is built on the one aspect they can control, their opinions and state of mind. This is the essence of true freedom. A liberation not from circumstances, but from the power of external factors over one's inner peace. Stoic practice, carrying the lentils. Stoicism's founder, Zeno of Citium, lost his fortune and nearly his life in a shipwreck before washing up in Athens at age 22. Enamored with philosophy, the first of his teachers was Crates of Thebes, a cynic philosopher and student of Diogenes, who set about teaching the young Zeno the necessity of being immune to public opinion. He assigned Zeno the task of carrying around with him a pot of lentils, considered a sign of poverty at the time. This is the ancient equivalent of broadcasting to everyone you come across that you are surviving off ramen noodles. When Crates saw Zeno hiding his lentils under his cloak, he smashed the pot with his staff, sending the then lentil-soaked Zeno fleeing with embarrassment. It was a waste of food. But Zeno learned the lesson. You cannot be a Stoic and care what people think about you. If you care about people seeing you carry lentils, if you cannot tolerate even insignificant judgment like this from others, how will you stand up for what is right when it is hard and everyone else is going the other way? How will you ever be equal with fortune if you cannot even best public opinion? For this practice, identify your personal lentils, activities that you ought to be able to do but cause you anxiety or embarrassment. These might include public speaking, expressing affection, dancing or singing in public, participating in theatre or trying stand-up comedy. Engage in these activities deliberately, allowing yourself to become desensitized to the fear of judgment. This exercise is designed to fortify your courage in low-stakes situations, preparing you to maintain your principles and integrity when faced with more consequential challenges. Stoic practice. Negative visualization. Thinking carefully about potential misfortunes is a good way to train your courage today, so it is ready at hand when you need it in the future.
Today it is you who threaten me with these terrors, but I have always threatened myself with them, and have prepared myself as a man to meet man's destiny. If an evil has been pondered beforehand, the blow is gentle when it comes. To the fool, however, and to him who trusts in fortune, each event as it arrives comes in a new and sudden form, and a large part of evil, to the inexperienced, consists in its novelty. This is proved by the fact that men endure with greater courage when they have once become accustomed to them, the things which they had at first regarded as hardships. Hence, the wise man accustoms himself to coming trouble, lightening by long reflection the evils, which others lighten by long endurance. We sometimes hear the inexperienced say, "I knew that this was in store for me." But the wise man knows that all things are in store for him. Whatever happens, he says, "I knew it."
This is likely the most challenging practice, so be prepared to encounter some resistance. Begin with less severe and improbable misfortunes, gradually progressing to more daunting scenarios that are likely to occur. The aim is to contemplate these situations thoughtfully, rather than worry about them. Developing the ability to think about the events without having an immediate emotional reaction is a key part of this practice and will require patience. Our ultimate objective is to achieve a state of complete preparedness, enabling us to mentally navigate through the gravest of life's potential hardships. This includes confronting the possibility of our own premature death, the loss of loved ones, severe illnesses, accidents resulting in disabilities, victimization through violence, financial collapse, wrongful accusations, and imprisonment. Fortune is a true monster, and if we want to stand firm against it, we must prepare for it to assail our every weak point.
We should therefore reflect upon all contingencies, and should fortify our minds against the evils which may possibly come. Exile, the torture of disease, wars, shipwreck. We must think on these. Chance may tear you from your country or your country from you, or may banish you to the desert. This very place, where throngs are stifling, may become a desert. Let us place before our eyes in its entirety the nature of man's lot, and if we would not be overwhelmed or even dazed by those unwanted evils, as if they were novel, let us summon to our minds beforehand, not as great an evil as oftentimes happens, but the very greatest evil that possibly can happen. We must reflect upon fortune fully and completely.
While most of us will not be able to go that far in our preparation, it is crucial that this practice not be skipped altogether, even by those who find it especially challenging. At a minimum, a person trying to make progress towards a healthy mind will need to apply negative visualization to the range of disasters they are likely to encounter in their lives, as well as any secret personal boogeymen that strike fear into their hearts. The path to a tranquil mind is blocked, while these things still hold power over us. negative visualization can be a journaling or contemplation practice, but because of the mind's natural reluctance to think about these topics, writing is likely to be more effective. The process can be structured as follows, with a recommended duration of 10 to 15 minutes, focusing on being as detailed as you can. Identify your fears. Begin by identifying the specific fears or scenarios that trigger your anxiety or distress. What are these fears, and why do they hold such power over you? Visualize the scenario. Immerse yourself in the details of the feared event or situation as it unfolds. Consider both the immediate repercussions and the long-term consequences. How would this scenario realistically impact your life? Focus on virtue. Amidst this scenario, reflect on how you can apply the dichotomy of control. What elements are within your power to influence? Additionally, explore other ways you could exhibit virtue and resilience in this situation. Assert your inner strength. Firmly remind yourself that regardless of external events, you are never completely powerless. Embrace your inherent ability to respond with virtue and integrity, aligning your actions with your philosophy of life. This mindset is key to maintaining peace of mind, regardless of life's challenges. By regularly engaging in this exercise, you reinforce the understanding that your happiness and peace of mind are not contingent on external circumstances, but are always rooted in your responses and actions in any given situation.